Hey everybody, welcome to the Acceptable Comics stream. My name's Dave Rapoza, and I'm here with...
Dan Warren, and oh boy,
Woohoo!
do we have some good news for you and bad news for Canadians. Basically, if anyone got our book, Steve Lichman, first edition, the good news is that after a long series of Amazon delays, the books are finally shipping. I can confirm that. The books are on their way. All the orders were processed today, and everywhere in the world except Canada, you should be getting your book pretty soon. Watch out for an email from Amazon on the email that you put on the Kickstarter in your survey. They should be sending you an email when your book leaves their carrier facility with tracking information and an expected arrival date and stuff. Regarding the Canada situation, Amazon never told us until now, of course, and we didn't know, and apparently none of our backers in Canada know because I think they would have mentioned it, that there is a very specific law in Canada called the Canadian Heritage Act, which says very specifically that you can't import commercial books, specifically books, to the country of Canada. So that means Amazon legally can't even send the books to Canada. Now, if we were affiliated with Amazon and partnered, they could probably redistribute the books to Canada CA because that's what they do with Amazon products. But because we're doing multi-channel fulfillment only from a Kickstarter and not selling them through the Amazon website, they actually can't send the books to Canada. So as far as I know, they're going to send the books to me, and I'm meeting with a international lawyer tomorrow and a international trade broker to talk about what options I have as an individual, Dan Warren, to send you the book individually. I don't know 100% if I can legally do that yet or not, but I will update tomorrow on the Kickstarter to let everybody know the second I know. So, for everyone around the world, your book is on the way. For people in Canada, your book is on the way. It's just going to take a little bit longer while we figure out how to get around that weird Heritage Act law.
That being said, Amazon thankfully isn't just putting those books in a furnace,
Yes,
which is probably the good news
yes.
from all the things that Amazon has already done.
So, not entirely sure when Amazon's going to get those extra books to me that are going to be going to Canadian backers. I'm going to try to push to have them mailed to me some before the end of the week so they get here early next week. Again, we didn't know about that law. Amazon never told us about the law. I think because up until 2 days ago, they thought the book was listed on their site. They even accidentally sold a copy of the book to someone in Texas. And I'm trying desperately to get the book back because they didn't take down the listing that I requested them to take down 4 times. So basically, things aren't going great with Amazon. But yeah, we'll work out the problem with the Canadian shipping as fast as possible. Again, I have a meeting on the books tomorrow with a lawyer and a broker to figure out what options we have. But that's where it is. Everybody else, your books are on the way. Keep an eye out for that email.
Well, yeah, it's been weird. Nevik in the chat says, "Wait, is that law exclusive on books?" Yes, pretty much. It's I mean, like, that's what it hurts because Amazon can ship a lot of other things to Canada, like DVDs. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah.
Blu-rays, things like that. They can send other media. It's just specifically books for some reason.
Yeah, we didn't believe it either when Amazon told us. We thought it was just Amazon saying something to cover their ass or that they didn't know what they were talking about. But when I looked into it, it's a very specific law that deals specifically with what we're doing, which is multi-channel fulfillment, not
Yeah.
partnered fulfillment where we're part of Amazon. And it's specifically books, which is really weird. You can go Google it and look at it. That's what we both did. And like if I said this was a DVD, it would be shipping today, but I can't do that obviously because of customs. It's just it's just an unfortunate weird bump in the road that we're trying to get around. I mean, I've never heard of anything like that. Books are literally going to the UK, China, they're going to, Thailand, they're going to the Philippines, they're going to Russia, like books are going everywhere. And Canada, which is a 4 hour drive from my house, I can't send books to, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, it's really, really nuts.
Yeah.
Like everybody told us, Amazon, the Cadillac of fulfillment. It's
They didn't
just a
say,
really, really old Cadillac.
No, yeah, I was gonna say it's the Cadillac of fulfillment. What they didn't say is that it's a 1965 Cadillac in my dad's backyard with a blueberry bush growing inside of it.
Yeah, that's
It's
that's the
it's a
kind of Cadillac that it is.
it's a 1950 Cadillac with a family of raccoons living in the trunk, way
Yes,
out in the woods.
it is a Cadillac.
Hmm. Yep. So anyway, here we are. If anyone has any questions, tag me in the chat. Um, hello, tag me for questions.
Yeah, we're gonna be live for like an hour because we would love to stay longer, but we have so much work to do regarding the shipping. But we wanted to come on and
Yes,
talk to you all.
it went from nothing is happening to all 7,000 orders are going right now. So we're gonna stream for a bit, answer questions, then we're gonna get back to the Amazon thing and hopefully have some good news tomorrow.
Because we're partnered with Twitch. We have the partnership with Twitch, and we have to maintain a schedule, which is good for us because otherwise we might just fall into the abyss of like never saying anything
Yeah,
and just
yeah,
falling into our own hell of just
yeah.
shipping and maintaining all this stuff.
It's crazy because like now we know for book two. The crazy thing is that we actually, according to the Kickstarter prediction date, we shipped on time. We hit our date. Everything me and Dave were supposed to do, we hit on time and we delivered on the Kickstarter on schedule. It's when we sent, and that's just the two of us. It's just me and Dave. When we sent the book to the companies that are supposed to handle the super professional part of it, like the distribution and the processing,
Importing all that
that's
stuff.
where yeah, importing all that. That's where all the problems happened. The Chinese company missed the boat literally and delayed the book by almost 2 weeks. It got to America. Amazon got it. They've delayed it now about 3 weeks. So I mean, if all this had gone smoothly, people would have been getting their books at the end of May. We have almost like, it's crazy to me how many things have gone wrong since the book left our control and went into other people's hands. But now we know for book two that if we think it's going to be done in May, we're just going to say July because like this, I never want to deal with this again. Like this is so crazy to me. But yeah,
Epidemic Jack says, "What does this partnership do to you?" If you can talk about that, of course. Well, the Twitch partnership that we have now, it basically helps us to not only be like promoted or whatever else onto like those front pages or stuff like that, but it allows us to make some kind of income off of the stream where people can subscribe, and when you
right,
subscribe, it's like a monthly thing, and basically you get access to everything, but you also get the same kind of access. We're not like doing anything really too exclusive until we have like a Patreon or something like that.
right,
But for now, we're going to be doing the same thing. We're going to start the Patreon, have that be like the tier thing where we can end up doing more content later. But with the Twitch thing specifically, you get emoticons and things like that. And I know that there's other benefits to subscribing, but I'm not
yeah,
entirely sure because we're still pretty new to this. Like, we've mostly just been jumping on here and doing streams where we talk. I mean, we don't even really get too much time, or at least we haven't had time to watch anybody else's streams to see all the
right.
benefits of using Twitch. But
Yeah,
so
we're still
far, yeah.
about, I don't know, we're only like in the first week of the partnership thing. So we're working on getting the emotes out. Right now, the priority for us, just so people understand, is make sure all the books get shipped. That's commitment number one.
Yeah,
Commitment number
exactly.
two is make sure all the audiobooks go out. And then we're going to be, the lunch boxes are in the process of happening too. We basically tiered everything out. So once the books are done and we know everybody got their book, then the audiobooks are going out. Then after that, the lunch boxes are going out. And while we're doing all that, we'll be working on getting the emotes done and stuff. So people who are kind enough to subscribe to us and help out the channel can get some stuff going. But once this big block of book Amazon stuff is over, we'll be doing more Twitch stuff, more streams, more podcast style things on here.
Yeah, sorry if we've been, kind of all over the place. We've done some game streams and things like that. It's just that we've had, just no time with all this stuff.
Yeah, it's a lot.
We're trying
Um,
to do right by everybody who helped us.
right. That's priority number one always. Question from Orphic Whip. Question for you and Dave. How long after you guys started studying and trying to get better at art were you guys able to support yourselves? I have a full-time 40-hour-a-week job I'm trying to get out of as fast as I can. Sometimes hear you guys talk on streams around Dave's gumroads. Maybe I should be practicing harder. I don't know. I think for both of us, it was about, what, 2 years before we weren't like living completely check to check.
I mean, I kind of never stopped doing that, really.
Well, I mean, like I'm talking about like the White Wolf days where you would have to call me and be like, I don't know how I'm going to get through the month. Like
Yeah, I mean,
it
like
took about 2 years for that to stop.
the beginning of freelance in general, like, I don't know, I think it took me a couple years to get consistent work.
Yeah,
Maybe like 2 years, but even then the work was pretty bad, and I didn't really have like a regular job like how people have. Like you could go to a place, you could be a
yeah.
server at a place
Keep
and
in
make
mind,
more
like
money.
what's considered like an average to low salary is what, like 40,000 a year. Like
Something like
when
that.
we say supporting ourselves, we weren't even making that.
No, not even close.
Not even close. By supporting ourselves, we're talking like we paid rent, we managed to pay utility, we had food, and like, had a car, and like that's about it. But like, yeah, I'd say within 2 years of really freelancing a lot, that's not 2 years of studying, that's 2 years of freelancing and doing up the ladder jobs from like stuff that pays nothing that to then stuff that pays a little bit more and so on and so on. After 2 years of that, we were probably both at a point where we could live a little more comfortably and not have to worry about, if we were going to make rent the next month and stuff. In terms of studying, that probably ups it to 4 years or more for both of us. Because then it was like, just painting all the time and trying to get better at painting for 2 years. And then you start getting jobs and then you do that for 2 years and then things start working out. So, I mean, if you're coming from a place where you're not really doing anything, it definitely takes a good amount of time to get to self-sustaining. It's definitely doable, but, have the realistic expectation that it is going to take a lot of time.
The torture never stops.
Yeah, because I mean, you have to go from studying to getting jobs, and then the jobs you get are going to be low-paying jobs. So then you have a new set of challenges that go from how do I get low-paying jobs to medium, and then medium to high. So it's kind of a set of challenges. It's not just study enough to be good and then you have a living. You have to
No.
study enough to get bad work, and then you have to do bad work till you get better work,
And
and
then you
then
have to
better
become
work.
good enough at your own business.
Yeah.
I mean, because you have to think about it like once you're a freelancer, you're pretty much a storefront.
Hmm.
Hey, Jumpman565, thanks for
Whoa.
subscribing. Woo! Uh, you get the little dancing Dracula up on the screen.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, like once you get going, and you're working and stuff, it's like you have to then become a business owner. I mean, like that's pretty much what you are. Like a lot of people romanticize being an artist, especially like a freelancer. I mean,
Mm.
because if you get a job somewhere and you have that income coming in, that's different. But if you're a freelancer and it all depends on you, then like you need to treat it like a business after a certain point. So that's where your kind of like self-sustaining thing is going to come from. Is going to come from understanding that side of it. Self-promotion. Treat yourself like like you need to be promoted once in a while. You need to be in front of people here. It's like you need advertisements out on the street. Like
Right.
I'm alive, please give me some money.
So yeah, I mean, it's doable. It's going to take time. You have to start thinking about it not just in terms of studying and getting, better technically. You have to start thinking about it as a whole series of business decisions.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a mix. You can be excited about it. You can treat it like it's like your passion. Like I definitely feel that way when I'm doing like watercolors and stuff like that. Like that's obviously not something that's making me a ton of money. It's something I do for me.
Uh,
But you
you
have
gotta.
to kind of do it both ways.
We're not playing Pokemon Blue anymore. You got to switch it to creative.
Right.
We
Well,
always forget to do that.
it's the one thing about Twitch I'm not used to.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that Twitch like micromanages everything into little specific corners.
Hey guys, this isn't Pokemon, okay?
We know you think it's Pokemon, but it's not.
I know it looks like Pokemon.
You're not looking at a Voltorb wearing a beard wig.
No, this
You-
is.
You're not.
His name is Voltorb, but it's
There you go.
not a Voltorb.
There you go. Okay. Question from Epidemic Jack. Sorry for being unoriginal, but I would like to know if something, someone, or anything helped you in the first time when you became freelance about working seriously and improving on your own, making connections in the industry, etc. I just left school 2 weeks ago thinking about working by myself to become an illustrator. That's not an unoriginal question. That's a very good question, especially if you just get out of school. That's a very relevant thing to worry about. It's a very good thing to worry about. Like, you definitely get your priorities straight. In terms of someone or anything that helped you, I would say having a network was the best thing to getting into freelance because when I got out of school, I was already hopping on live streams and talking with Dave occasionally. And then I decided to kind of restart Crimson Daggers, which was a thing we used to do that was basically just a network of people that all wanted to get better at doing art and freelance and stuff. So from that, I automatically knew everybody in what became that group, and then those people's connections became my connections became their connections, and at a pretty steady rate, everyone in that group started getting comparable jobs and kind of climbing the ladder in different parts of the industry. So like I'd say what 70% of the jobs I've done probably come from just having that network and that sort of support group. If you can get into something like that, I'd say that's probably the most beneficial thing in terms of freelance. It's definitely having a network because there's so much stuff out there to do and so many jobs that are available that you will never hear about unless someone you know has heard about it and then tells you stuff you wouldn't even think you can do to pay the bills. There's all kinds of weird jobs all over the place.
So this is the question: is the most beneficial thing like starting out, kind of thing?
It's something, someone, or anything helped you when you first started freelancing. What's the most beneficial thing that helped you cross the bridge from I do art to I make money doing art?
Well, this is like a different world now than when I started because there wasn't really like Facebook.
Right.
People didn't use Facebook like exclusively. Like there was places all over the map where you could do art, but one of the things that helped me the most was just reaching out to people that I looked up to. It helped make them human, and I think that that's a big thing, is to realize that every single person doing what you want to do is just another person, and that they're not some like, they're not somebody you should be intimidated by, or that something you'll never be. You just kind of get a, I don't know, for me that was comforting to just see that, like, oh, okay, this person's just like me, and
Right.
that was the most beneficial for me. But just in terms of like a technical thing, the most beneficial thing for me was just doing anything and everything. One, like, it's crazy how many people will do this and they're so worried about starting that they just, it's like they don't even try. They want to be everything that they think they're supposed to be before they even get going. And I did a video on this. It's part of my eyeball night tutorial, but you can watch it on YouTube if you want. If you just search Dave Rapoza and look through the videos we have on there, the YouTube link's actually below the video here on Twitch. But if you go there and watch that, I talk about the things that helped me in the beginning. And one of the big ones was just realizing that, like, I need to start no matter what. Like, no matter what, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Like, if I can't do it, I can't do it. But I'd rather just be moving in a direction that feels right than sitting still and just doing whatever, like trying to find a way to like learn how to do it the right way. Because the right way, it doesn't matter. It's like as long as you're doing something, you're moving closer towards your goal. And don't worry about nailing it. Don't worry about doing perfect anatomy. Don't worry about doing the perfect approach to trying this new study. Don't worry about having the perfect setup, the perfect lighting, the perfect whatever. Like, I just used the desk lamp to light all of my still lifes that I painted in Photoshop.
Right.
And I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea about construction, about how to like map things out. I still don't really know any of that stuff. I just winged it, and I winged it to the point where it started to make sense to me, and it it translated over into something real. So I think that that's the biggest thing, is that you shouldn't worry about being this perfect thing before you get going doing art.
Yeah. It's sort of like, I mean, I've done this. I know you've done this before, where you're like, I have to get in shape. And then you go on Amazon and you buy all the weights and the protein powders and the fitness bands and the mats and stuff, and then they're just kind of in your apartment.
Yeah. It's
And you
it's the
don't like,
like I did it.
you would have done more for yourself if you just didn't buy that stuff and just went for a walk that night. You know what I mean? Like if you just start doing something now, don't put it off and think you have to have all the best stuff. Like just do something. It doesn't matter if it's small or wrong or incorrect. Just like start taking the steps. If you don't think you're good enough to do an illustration yet, do an illustration. The worst case scenario is that you do an illustration you don't like and then you do another one and you like it a little bit more and you keep going, but don't get into that mindset so many people get into where you think you're going to, I'm just going to study for 3 years. And then, when my skills are there, I'll start doing art. Because what happens is if you get into that mentality is that you never apply the studies and you just start making really good replicas of other things. And then when you switch over to making your own stuff, you don't really have any more skills to do it. Like you may be better at using Photoshop and stuff, but like you haven't applied any of that stuff. Just start the image making process as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's the number one thing I would say, is that's like what people put off forever. And I don't want to boil it down to fake it till you make it, just because that's forgettable kind of thing.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know, I don't want it to be a saying. It's like, it's just what life is. It's that you
Right.
don't know jack shit and then you do it. And I don't know, it's like with anything else. The same
Well,
thing
it's
with like
like,
studying. Like, you have to have it make sense, you have to use it, you have to just like do what you can with what you have. Like, you can't learn Spanish and hold on to it if you don't live in a
yeah,
place where you can talk to other people who speak Spanish.
it's not quite fake it till you make it. It's start taking steps now. And, instead of saying, I'll wait till I have all the optimal stuff to take bigger steps later, just, question from Orphic Whip. How do you guys feel about artists copying some well-known compositions, whether it be from a poster or an iconic scene, then drawing and painting the same thing in their own style and selling them as prints? There's a pretty well-known artist who got into some shit and got called out by an even more popular artist who ironically does something not too far off the map. Hold on, let me read one part of this again because there's one point here. Um, how do you guys feel about artists copying some of well-known compositions, whether from a poster or iconic scene, drawing, painting the same thing in their own style? Okay, so there's two answers to this, and I'm not sure what you're talking about. There's people who copy paintings completely, and there's people who just take compositions. Copying paintings completely, obviously, is not something anybody should do. If you see a Frazetta painting of Conan and you copy the painting in your own style, don't then sell that as a print. That's a Frazetta painting. You know what I mean? But if you're taking the composition and you're doing something like a parody, or you're throwing other stuff into it, or you're just taking the composition, that's perfectly fine. I don't know how many times I've seen Norman Rockwell compositions used by any number of artists to do pieces.
Or, I mean, even just using the Frazetta thing you just said, it's like, look
Yeah.
at Boris Vallejo.
Yeah, pretty much his whole career is based off of like I'm gonna do my version of Frazetta and like it's fine. But that's the thing is like taking compositions has been something that's been done since like the Renaissance. Like that's as old as art is. Seeing something that works and going, "Oh, you know what? I'm gonna learn from that thing that worked and do it my way." That's totally fine. If you really enjoyed the cover of Doom from the 90s where it's the guy standing on the pile of bodies with the guns, and like you decided to do some version of that for a job as like a callback to it with a different character, in the same position and the enemies laid out the same way, that's just an homage to it. You're not going to get in trouble for aping on a composition. Like it's fine to do that. The weird thing about the weird thing about the art community is that everybody likes to tell anyone with any kind of success that they're doing it wrong, and almost every time it's just complete bullshit. Like it's that same thing we used to talk about all the time where when people found out Brad was using the smudge tool, Like everybody's like, oh, you can't do that to paint with and stuff. And like then someone comes along and does it, and then, everybody argues about it for a while, and then it's totally accepted. It's the same artists that say that Comic-Con is killing the freelance industry and that fan art shouldn't be allowed and all this other crazy stuff. Like it's none of that stuff's true. It's just very opinionated, insecure people who want to take away any competitive edge that other people have.
Yeah, I mean, you can't listen to anybody who says something's wrong. It's just it hardly ever is black and white. It's, art is so subjective. You can do whatever you want with it. And if it looks like it to you that somebody's copying somebody else, I don't know. I mean, it's just such a small world in the
Yeah, I
concept art
mean,
world. Like, it's just not a big deal. Like,
there's using stuff in your painting that other people have used, like a composition or like a lighting scheme or something. And then there's outright plagiarism. Outright plagiarism is when you copy something or don't even copy it and just steal it from the image and put it in yours. That is not something anybody should do. But, copying little things here and there and trying to learn from them and changing them and, transformative use is the term, like legally. If it's not the exact same thing and you're just using it to get the same kind of idea across or evoke a similar kind of thing in the image, it's totally fine. You're not breaking any rules.
yeah, one of the dangerous things that comes from the thought, though, of like, you shouldn't copy people or whatever, is people who just are fans of something and they like to draw, like, like, let's say you like, back in the 90s, you like Todd McFarlane.
Yeah.
There's no, like, there's nothing wrong with looking like Todd McFarlane before you
No.
look like whoever you're going to be.
Yeah.
Like, don't be afraid to copy other artists' approaches. Like, that's how we all learn. you know
It's like in the
it's weird that
90s.
we're in this internet world where everybody sees what you're doing.
It's like in the 90s when everybody wanted to be their version of Jim Lee.
Yeah.
Like, it's literally as old as art itself. It goes all the way back. You can see this happening constantly where something gets really popular and works, and then everybody around it does their spin on it because they want to ride that wave and learn from it and take advantage of it. And then the next thing comes along, and then the next thing, and then the next thing. And there's just this weird, like, because it's the art community and art takes such a long time to do, by default, artists that make any kind of living have put so many hours into making their art that they're kind of introverted people. They kind of just do more art than anything else by default again. So they end up attaching their self-worth to their art almost all the time. This is something that tons of people in the industry do. Tons of people I know. I've done it in the past. I know Dave's done it in the past. And then this weird thing starts to happen where if anyone criticizes something about the art that you know is a little bit true, you overreact and you get sensitive about it because you don't have anything else going on in your life at that time. All you're doing is art constantly to try and make a living doing it. So when people go, I can see the composition you used, or they like leave a comment saying like, oh yeah, I like that painting a lot when so and so did it or something like that. These people freak out and get defensive because they think that somehow it's an attack on them personally, and it's not. It's just a snarky comment about a painting on the internet. That's it. It doesn't mean anything. None of that stuff means anything. Unless you outright plagiarized a thing and stole it, you've done nothing wrong. Everybody does what we're talking about. Any artist that says they've never tried to copy something from a painting to learn from it or put a spin on something they like to use it is full of shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the best thing ever. Like, I love looking at other artists and seeing their approaches. Like, everybody thinks that you're doing something new if you go outside of your like little world and like, quote unquote copy whatever they're
Right.
doing. It's like, and you bring it back to this other place. It's like, it doesn't mean that you're original all of a sudden. It just means that you have multiple influences. And just
Right.
because somebody can see your influences doesn't make you wrong. Like, you will, no matter what, if you're moving towards something and you're working really hard and you're studying and trying, you're eventually going to look, you know, like yourself. Like, chances are you don't even know that you have your own style,
Hmm.
but you do. Like, everybody does. just takes a little while to kind of like,
Yeah.
get used to doing your own thing.
And it's even like, I'll just call one out that's happening right now, just because I want people in the art community listening to see it happening and recognize it for what it is. Uh, our pal Evan Amundsen started doing this thing where he writes short stories and uploads them with his images on Facebook. So it'll be like, Day 176. On the eve of battle, Cherie was standing with her elf companion, and it'll tell a little story, and then he'll have an image about the story. And he did that exclusively for like a couple months, and then other people started doing it, where they started writing short stories and uploading it in the same way Evan was doing it. They're not stealing from Evan in the same way that if you looked at a composition that Frank Frazetta did and you decided to do Mega Man characters in the same composition, you're not stealing from Frank Frazetta. You're seeing something he decided to use and you're going, oh, okay, that's really effective. I enjoy what that's doing. I'm going to use that same thing to sell my thing. It's just a marketing thing. That's really all it comes down to. Let's
Yeah, I mean, it's
see.
also being a fan of it too. It's like there's nothing
Oh, of
wrong with
course.
being a fan.
Most people don't take the time to copy something and learn from it unless they enjoy it. You know, that usually copying stuff and sort of remixing it usually comes from a place of love. It's like you wouldn't spend that much time on a thing if you didn't really enjoy it. Hey guys, question. I started getting some freelance requests and stuff, but as soon as I talk about rates, the clients run away. Does this ever happen to you? I've noticed clients think art comes cheap. How do you hustle them to pay you, or do you just ignore them and find different clients? Well, there's two answers to that. There's always going to be clients that you shouldn't work for because they don't respect you and they don't want to pay the rates. And then there's clients that do respect you that just don't pay you on time. And how do you get them to pay you? And as far as the first one goes, like people that think art should be free or that they don't shouldn't pay you or that they're offering like, $20 for an image or whatever, just don't work for them. It's not worth the time you're putting into the email chains back and forth arguing the merit of why you should get your rate. That time could all be spent doing something more productive.
And it also depends on you. Like, are you accurately giving yourself a rate you deserve?
Yeah.
Like, are you highballing? Are you lowballing? Like, I've seen so many of these, like, like quote unquote viral, like Facebook videos from artists where they come out and they talk about like these totally unrealistic things for people who are starting to get work. They
Hmm.
talk about, and I don't disagree with this in theory. Like,
Well,
in
no.
theory, this is right. Like in theory, you should get a day rate. But in reality, people that are hiring you are at a place and a point in their careers themselves where maybe they can't pay you that. And what's going to happen over time is if you're too beholden to the idea that you need a day rate and that everybody always tells you, like you're part of the problem if you're screwing artists and all this stuff, it's like, well, you'll never have the work experience enough. You will never have like taken those shitty jobs and worked those terrible hours on stuff that wasn't paying you shit, and you won't have that whole thing, like that skill that comes from working those kinds of jobs and like just having the experience of working with a team or working with somebody. It's like paid internships, like that's a thing. Even even internships where you don't get paid, like that's super
Right.
popular. Like you have to think about where you're at realistically, and it's like, yeah, artists get screwed all the time, but also you can't put your worth above experience. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a trade off. You have to be. It's just not
Well, that's
black
the
and
thing is
white.
like, here's just some hard numbers that you just have to accept and some facts that go along with them that you just have to accept. There was the same thing Dave was mentioning a minute ago. There was this trend like last year and the year before where people were getting angry and saying, up and comers undercutting are killing this industry. Professionals that have been in it for years can't get work because of undercutters. And if you're not making $35 an hour, you're killing it for the rest of us. Everybody should have a day rate. Everybody should have a minimum of $35 an hour rate because if you don't have one, then I can't get one because you're my competition and you're hurting me. And if you're hurting me, then I'm hurting someone else. And you're responsible for the whole industry collapsing. And like, yeah, in theory, that all sounds good, and it's great to get an angry mob going on Facebook and share stuff. And yeah, woohoo, we're all going to get stuff. Let's create a freelancing union. Oh boy. The things that doesn't bring into effect are There are some companies that don't pay salaries, don't pay day rates, don't pay hourly rates. They just pay flat rates of what the image is. You do a portrait, you get $75. Period. It's not open to negotiation. That is their rate. You do this, you get that. So then your hourly rate is determined by how fast you are as an individual. If you can get that image done in an hour, you're making twice the 35 you wanted to make. You're making $75 an hour. Wow. If you're a beginner and that portrait takes 5 days, you're making what, less than $1 an hour? Like you're making nothing. But that's the thing. You can't negotiate with that because not every company works in this ideal mentality. The other thing to keep in mind is that money means different things in different countries, and $35, $75, $100, $200 could make a lot more difference to somebody in a country where the dollar is stronger than it is here. We're both in the US, so we're talking about US rates, but just last week, I was contracted to potentially do some stuff for a job, and within 5 days of me saying I could work on it, the entire job fell apart because a studio in Russia could do the job for half the price. So everybody that was on it got let go, and the job went over there. Does that mean that Russia's killing the industry? No. Does that mean that the artists working there are killing the industry? No. Does that mean that they deserve more money? No, because they agreed to do it for that rate, and clearly it's worth it to them or they wouldn't be doing it. Exchange rates of currency, people being competitive and wanting to get an edge either by reducing price or overpromising on what they're going to deliver, you know, flat rates from companies that need to do per item orders instead of hourly orders. This is all stuff that isn't going to go away. So people need to just accept it for what it is, because that's the reality of freelancing. It's never going to be this ideal thing where everybody gets a minimum wage and stuff, because people do such different styles at such different skill levels and get stuff out so much quicker or slower or differently, or have relationships with art directors that mean more based on experience. And there's so many variables that you're never going to get a standardized amount. It's not going to happen. That being said, you shouldn't work for free unless you want to work for free. An unpaid internship might be a great idea if you're a
Right.
freshman in college and a really great studio that you love is hiring interns. You're not going to get paid in money, but you're going to make connections. You're going to figure out how to do the job. You're going to be familiar with the studio environment and the creative pipeline. When you graduate, you're going to know people there to put a resume in with. That's all really valid stuff that everybody just kind of scoffs at because it doesn't pay. There's way more valuable stuff in this industry than money, and nobody ever thinks about it.
Yeah,
But
that's the thing that bothers me about that kind of stuff is that, everybody thinks in terms of money, and it's like I've done so much stuff where I've taken hits on everything. When you work on your portfolio, you're taking a hit because nobody's paying you to do that.
right,
It's just, I don't know. You don't need to think of things so black and white. Like there's so many variables to this. And I think back on the jobs that sucked, and I even like obviously in the moment I wasn't happy because the shit jobs suck. And I would
hmm
get paid like nothing. I wasn't getting hourly rates. I didn't get hourly rates until I was like a pro, like working all the time. It just didn't happen.
right,
But like when I finally started getting work like that, like I almost slowed down a little bit because it was so nice. It was so comforting to have that. And I think back to the times when I had to like struggle for that stuff. And like, of course, I was taken advantage of because I wasn't anybody. I wasn't doing anything. It's like I was just trying to get by on these jobs that were like paying me through PayPal. They weren't real things. And I think that like professionals, it's easy to get to a point where you're comfortable. Like for me, like I'll work on movies and stuff, and I'll work in advertising, and it's pretty comfortable. And it's like it'd be real easy for me to come and tell you that you should charge a day rate because of course, yeah, I get a day rate and that's what I know. That's my world. But for somebody starting out, I think it's terrible advice to tell somebody that they should give a day rate because you're scaring them away. Like the
yeah,
clients, they're going away.
you're killing your PR when you do that because you're not worth a day rate yet. And
No.
that's the thing. And there's so much other stuff. I will take a job that pays less if I want it in my portfolio over a job that pays more if it's something I don't want to do any day of the week.
Yeah.
Because I want to have fun on the job. I want to be able to show the job and go, hey, I really enjoy doing this. Look at it. I want it to be in my portfolio because this is the other thing no one ever talks about when this topic comes up. Some jobs are more likely to lead to other jobs. If you get a really cool opportunity to work on something that pays less than you think you deserve, but you know it's going to make a splash when it goes online and people are going to really like it and they're going to want to hire you as a result of seeing how cool it is, you're making money by taking a loss on that job because it's going to lead to more work in the future. The alternative is you don't do that job, you don't make the money you thought you deserved more of on that job, and then you don't get to show the results of that job, meaning you don't get future jobs from it. Like it's a chess game. You have to look a few moves ahead, you know what I mean? Like jobs lead to other jobs. If you take a job that's in a Blizzard style, that could eventually go down a path that leads to you working for Blizzard. If you choose not to do it and you go for something that's more line arty, that might lead to a job doing something like tattoos. It might lead to a job in design. It could lead to storybooks. Like every job you take that ends up going in your portfolio is leading to something else after it. So taking a hit to get to something cooler later is perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, that's something that's been on my mind forever.
Right.
Cause it's just like like I'm not just like trying to shit on people, but it's the entitlement thing that always
Yeah.
gets to me.
I deserve this.
Yeah, and it's like, well, none of us deserve anything. Like we all have to work crazy hard, and that's
Right.
the only way anybody gets anything in the world. Is like you put in hard work, you try your best, you do whatever you can to make the client happy because it's about the client. It's not about you enjoying the job. It's not about just like me creating art. It's about making somebody else who's willing to give you their hard-earned money
Right.
the thing that they deserve from that. And like you have to respect them and you have to work really hard at it. And it's like even if you get paid nothing, that's going to be the thing that makes you whatever the professional artist that you want to be or that person that can make the day rate. It's
Yeah.
by just having that, philosophy going into it that like it's not about you, it's not about what you make, whatever. It's about whatever you can do for this person who is putting their trust in you to deliver something cool. And it's like if all
Exactly.
you're doing is delivering your day rate and you don't care about the result or like you think about everything in terms of money, like they're people. Like these are people. It's not just a job. They're human beings on the other end.
Right.
And I just think it's so weird to think about things in terms of like me, like this job is about me. It's about like me getting screwed and all this stuff. Everybody's taking advantage of me. It's like understand when you're being taken advantage of. Understand like when you're in a job and like they do have $1 million and they're
Hmm.
not paying you anything. Then you do have to do something. But starting out jobs, don't expect just like a guy running a D&D campaign once he draws characters to pay a day rate.
Right. And don't expect pen and paper RPGs that barely are keeping themselves alive because of the cost of printed media to be able to afford more than a couple hundred a character. It's not like those people are driving home in limousines to mansions afterwards and laughing about how they screwed you on painting a dwarf. Like they're just people with jobs and that's what they can afford to pay. One last thing on this topic because I don't want to keep talking about it, but there's another, it's a rich topic. A huge part of this is just trying to figure out how to be a smarter business person too, because like the example we always use on here is that Marvel comic cover artists don't get paid a lot of money. They just don't. But what they can do is they can do original pieces for the cover, and then they can go to Comic Con or something and sell those for thousands of dollars to fans. Sometimes, like you can do prints of things, and then you can sell prints to make more money. So, for example, if I'm going to do a job for a company that has a well-known IP, or even a job for a private client of something that's never been heard of before, but I know I can make it look cool. Let's say they're only going to give me $200 for the job. I think I deserve at least 1,000. What can I do to get that number up to 1,000? Because I know they can't give me more than 200. Well, step one is you can try to negotiate, get it to 250, something like that. Might not happen. Give it a shot. Step two is how can I negotiate terms on this piece of art to make more money out of it? Can I get it put in the agreement that I'm allowed to sell prints of it? Can I get it put in the agreement that if I do it as an original piece, I can sell that original piece? Can I get the rights to put it on t-shirts or something and sell that to make some more money? Start thinking about stuff like that. Start thinking about branding. Start making sure you have the rights to use your images on things and to be able to sell images of them at cons. Like you can take a Marvel cover, for example. Let's say it paid $400 or something for a comic book cover. You can spin that into 5 or 6 grand if you have an original piece you can then sell, and then you can make some prints and sell those prints at a convention. And then that's one of the highest paying jobs you've done all year. The company didn't pay you that 5 or 6 grand, but you, as a smart business person, figured out how to take that job you were taking a loss on, take advantage of the audience that is really into it, and spin it into more money.
The same thing goes for really anything that has that kind of fan base. Like, let's say Magic the Gathering. You can then go and make literal things out of it. You can go make playmats and start a Kickstarter. You
Hmm.
know, you could go, you can do all kinds of different creative things with your prints to make other products out of them to sell on your own that are going to benefit the players of the game who are already fans of your work. And it's like, if you take a hit, like for instance, if I work on a movie, I'll make more money working on the movie. Here's the flip side of that. Let's say I do make a day rate on a movie and I make a ton of money. I make so much money, right? Okay, so I made all that money up front. Like let's say I'm working on a movie, I make, I don't know, like I work on concepts for months or something like that. You make like whatever,
Call it
say
10, call it
20
10,000,
thousand
10, 20.
dollars.
Yeah.
I'll call it $20,000, and you did all that work. Here's the thing: you can't show that work. You can't print that work. You can't ever resell that work. Okay. What?
Sometimes you can't even say that you did the work.
Yeah. Sometimes you can't say you did the work, but that's like a crazy profile job, right? You
Yeah.
could use that for other things. You could use it to get other jobs. Looks good in your portfolio. You can do what I do and like send the stuff to blogs and whatever and say like what I did on that thing. And whatever stuff like that can be leveraged. But on the flip side, let's say you're working for Marvel. Okay, Marvel people really love their artists. The fans of Marvel love the comics artists. So let's say you do something for Marvel and it comes out really cool. You only get paid, a fraction of what you were going to make working on that movie thing. Only like a fraction, literally like hardly anything. Like let's say the high end you make, I don't know, under 2,000 or something like that, unless you're like a bigger name artist or you're under exclusivity or something like that. So
Yeah.
you make that money, right? Then you can take that cover and go to conventions with it, and you can sell prints of that thing. So you're selling prints of that thing, and then let's say you did sketches for that, and then you did, maybe it's original painting base or something like whatever, and then you put that stuff on eBay or whatever, or you put it on a collector's website, and you can upcharge for that stuff, and you'll end up making off of one piece. If you're a really good artist, off of one piece, that really good artist working on a movie would have made that $20,000 doing multiple concepts over time, or $20,000 after selling prints of that one cover that was successful, and then selling the originals and everything else. It's like you can get so much traction out of a piece if you're in the right place.
Hmm.
So it's just different. And yeah, I don't know. It's just more to say that whole idea of you're worth this certain amount and that's the end of the story. It's just not true.
I mean, theoretically, like if we're just looking at this in terms of, okay, so no one hired you to do your Ninja Turtles prints.
No.
So you got paid nothing for that if we're looking at it in terms of money earned. But
Well, I
you
sold
could,
prints.
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm getting at. So technically you did work for free, but you were doing it for yourself. Then you went to a con and you sold prints of it and you made more off those than you've made off any individual piece that a client's
I
paid and
mean,
then like a client's paid you for.
no, not at this point.
Well, I'm not talking about like movie packets. You do multiple stuff for movies over a period of time, but not those aren't like one-shot images. It's not like you did a Raphael.
I made more off of like The Witcher, like certain images that I paint over time that I do get a day rate off of. I will make more than my print sales,
Okay,
but
but
that's
it's at least
that's taken
it's at least
forever to
comparable
get to
though.
that point.
Right, but it's at least comparable.
Yeah, it's for sure comparable, and
Yeah,
I
so
also got to do
that's
whatever I wanted. And just beyond that, I mean, I figured you were gonna get into that. But beyond that, that led to me working on the movie itself and, other things like that. So it had a life way after that in terms of promotion and whatever.
So yeah, it's just you just got to start thinking more about alternative ways to make money that isn't that binary client artist relationship thing. There's so many other ways to do stuff and have fun doing stuff and market yourself and, make an income, and a job is seldom worth the amount of money that's on the paycheck that comes in for it. You have to factor in where the job takes you, who sees the job and hires you after, what you can do to resell the image on that job. Like there's so many things you can do. Let's see. I have the problem where I like so much art styles that I cannot decide where I want to take my style to. For example, if I want to draw similar to Westbert or maybe something more stylized like Evan Amundsen, and I have been struggling with that for a long time. I think the simplest answer to that question is you will probably owe it to yourself to see yourself as more of a copy of somebody else. You can take bits from those different people and kind of apply them to what becomes your style. Most people's styles are a combination of a few other people's styles. It's that quote like, before we find our own voice, we sound like a lot of different people. It's that same kind of thing. You don't have a decision between one or the other. You don't have to be a Westbird or an Evan Amundsen. You can combine them. You can bring in other things. You can do something totally different that's informed by them. It's not a decision you have to make where once you've committed to it, there's no going back. You can switch styles all the time. But yeah, I don't know. Thoughts on that, Dave?
I just think that you should do whatever makes you happy right in the moment. Don't worry about other people or like where you're going to end up. Take in everything. Like when you have the energy for something, do it. Just just make it happen. Like the worst thing you can do is stand still and twiddle your fingers like thinking about who you're going to be. Just be whatever you want. Just take in the influences that you like. Don't worry about being compared to Westbert or Evan or anybody. Just do it. Just have fun. Learn from their styles. Like let yourself play in that space. Take in
Yeah.
information. Take in new approaches. There's no restrictions on any of this, and you shouldn't let yourself be held back because you know of some like arbitrary thing of like style, like, oh, I don't want to be this, I don't just want to be that. Then don't do whatever you want. You'll
Yeah,
only
like
get better for it.
instead of just visually trying to look like the artists you admire, instead try to start thinking the way that they think instead. Because I guarantee you, like we both know Evan, when he's having fun drawing that stuff and putting it online and it's whimsical and kind of fairy tale like, he's not worrying about if he looks enough like artist A or artist B. He's just having a good time doing a style that comes naturally to him that he enjoys. That's what you should do. And if it doesn't end up looking like Evan or Wes or anybody else, that's perfectly fine. Get in the mindset that Evan's in. Don't just copy his work. Get in that mindset of I'm having fun. This is what I'm good at doing. This is what comes naturally. This is what I'm really good at showing people.
And for sure, Evan looked like other artists before he did his thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the thing. No one ever looks at how people got to where they're at. They just look at where they're at and assume they've always been that way. So like you have to realize that too is, Evan's the product of however many years he's been doing this. It's not just the stuff you're seeing now. Let's see. There was something about scrolling up. How do I improve my drawing process to become more efficient at drawing? I feel I am wasting a lot of time to get anything done. I mean, number one, draw more often is like the automatic answer. And number two is start setting realistic goals and standards and limits. If you give yourself a whole afternoon to draw, you might end up getting nothing done. But if you say, I want to draw this, and I'm going to give myself 10 minutes to do it, you'll do a drawing of it that's done in 10 minutes, and you might not like that drawing, but at least you got something done. And then when you do another one, it'll be faster as a result, and then faster, and then faster. In terms of getting better at efficiency, it's usually about reining yourself in and forcing yourself to have limits for things to get finished by. Give yourself deadlines that you stick to. At the end of the day, I'm going to have 5 drawings done. that means I can spend 1 hour on each of them. And then when that hour's up, call it
Yeah,
and just
also
force.
over time identify where you struggle. Go,
Yeah.
what am I halting on? Like when I'm doing my stuff and I'm trying to have fun and I'm trying to fly through my drawings and just be organic with it, like what do I get held up on? Like what stops me in my tracks and makes me go, oh, this isn't fun anymore? Like find those moments and identify them, because that's probably going to be the thing that you're going to need to put some more time into as far as studies go, because you want to be able to just get through your work and just float and have that experience and whatever that speed. But yeah, you just want to like identify your issues. Sorry, Kim just got home.
Question from Ty Grenier or Grenier. I can't even seem to get crap jobs, one-offs on book covers from new authors or
Okay,
whatever
okay.
else. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong that I can't get any paying job. Well, that question is more specific to your portfolio that you're putting out there. So I don't want to give you a big blanket answer that applies to everybody because it might actually be useless to you. Instead, what I would suggest is send me your portfolio on Facebook and I will look at it and I will do my best to tell you why you are or are not getting jobs. It could be something as simple as you don't have a network in place to have people see your work and want to hire you. And it could be something as complex as you have to make a new portfolio. So I don't want to give you kind of a useless one size fits all response. A problem like that is going to be very specific to what you're choosing to show. So feel free to reach out. I'm happy to look at it. Let's see.
Hey,
What do you do when you can't think of anything to draw? I've been having problems coming up with ideas and was wondering what your thoughts are on that subject. Well, you don't always have to be 100% inspired to draw something. Sometimes you can just draw. Like, if you can't think of anything to draw, maybe it will help to just get into the process of drawing. And once you start, something will come along in your head that you'll want to do. So set up a study and draw it, or go outside and look for something cool. Look at a tree or a house that you think is interesting, draw that. Look at something really cool, or watch a movie and try to draw one of your favorite scenes. And once you start drawing and you just force yourself to put the pencil to the paper and get into the motions, you'll probably think of something that you're interested in doing. You'll probably get an idea. You can either write those down in your sketchbook while you're drawing the thing you're drawing and come back to them later so you have like a little well of ideas to pull from, or you can just flip the page and start that thing right then and there. But it's like anything else, sometimes you kind of need to start stretching before you can really get into doing the meaningful work, and just forcing yourself to start drawing anything is a really good way to kind of get the gears going. Like, I've got a piece of paper on my desk I don't look at because it would stress me out if I did, but I know it's over there in the drawer and it's got about, I don't know, 75 things I'd like to draw at some point on it. And if I ever am in a weird space where I'm just not inspired or I can't think of anything and I want to do something for fun, I'll flip it over real quick and go, oh, that was a cool idea. I don't think about the ideas because I wrote them down on a piece of paper and I put them somewhere and I know I have them, which is a David Allen trick.
yeah,
But
David Allen,
David
productivity
Allen.
guru.
David Allen trick. You get the ideas out of your head when you have them. If you have too many ideas and you're super inspired on like a Saturday, but you know that in the middle of your work week you're going to be bored, write all those ideas down before you forget them. If you have 100 ideas that day, write all of them down. And then when you don't have an idea later, you can go back to that sheet of paper and go, oh, yeah, that was really cool. Let's try that.
Um,
But yeah,
One really cool thing I would say is that like I think helps me is that I was listening to this Conan O'Brien when he did the serious jibber jabber talk with Eric Larson, I think, and he was talking about the like, you go all day and you're working and stuff, and like if you do all of your ideas, then you won't have anything to start the next day, and that it's nice to refresh and just like go to bed that night with fresh thoughts like in your head already, like things that you're going to start tomorrow with. So one thing that helps me is to like kind of work on the things I'm working on and end the day with energy. I don't like to go, I think that helps me now is to like if I know I could go for another 2 hours, I'll stop because
Right.
that means that tomorrow I'll be that much better. I'll know where I'm starting. But if I finish everything that night, the next day is going to feel like a little bit sludgy.
Sure.
So in terms of like drawing things and coming up with ideas, I like to like stop thinking about stuff when I am inspired. Like after I have a couple things down, or just like one idea that I want to do. Like the eyeball night that I did for the tutorial was one of those things where I just kind of did that, and then I was like, okay, this is all I'm gonna do. Like I know I'm in this space now, and I could keep writing down ideas, but I'm just gonna focus on this now.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of funny how traditional forces that on you a little bit because you do have to wait all the time for
Hmm.
stuff to dry. And I noticed that technique work because when I was doing traditional, it was like I would have to step away from my piece all the time. Like I couldn't just dive into it digitally and get tired after a certain point.
Right.
I would always end up having to stop it, just because things needed to dry, and the lighting would change in the room or something like that. And I think it naturally kind of pushed that on me, and I really love that kind of focus now.
Yeah, it is weird with digital because at any point you can do anything to the image, so you're
Mm-hmm.
constantly engaged. There's no breaks, so you actually end up thinking less.
Yeah, like you're not being so critical. You're just, it's not being like super critical and deliberate because you know that there's always a fix for wherever you're going.
This is a good question. I think we've both done this. I know I had to do it really deliberately, but referring to your question you recently answered, what do you do when a client specifically wants you to copy another artist's style consistently because you're desperate for work and you will do it for less money than the person you're copying? Do I just do more personal work in my own natural style and hope that it gains traction with the clients and they want me to keep doing it, or do I copy the artists? Well, if a client's telling you to do it, they're not going to respond well to you ignoring them and doing it in your own style. I usually do the two rule where I disagree with the client once and I say, hey, could I try it in my style? Maybe. And if they say yes, I'll do a second thing where I'll show them a test of it and go, what do you think? And if they like it, they'll say yes. And if they don't, they'll say no. But if a client hires you to do something specific, the correct answer is not to refuse to listen to them. That's a really good way to, number one, lose a client, and number two, not get paid. Um, in terms of copying an artist's work, copying an artist's style, that happens all the time. Very few people naturally draw in a Samwise style, but hundreds of people end up working for Blizzard and copying his style. That's being able to hop into a style and know what works about it and then hop out of it and do something else is something that kind of inherently comes with video game and film freelance. You're going to get asked to do that a lot in certain kinds of jobs. I'm not saying you have to do it if you don't enjoy doing it. If you don't enjoy doing it, do something else. But I am saying that if you're going into concept art, it's a skill that a lot of people are going to expect you to have. One thing I had to do, I get hired by a miniatures company a while ago. I still work for. I love working for them. But what they'll do to save money on miniatures is they'll do variants of images that already exist. They'll say, like, we have this ogre that Steph Kapinski drew. We want you to take the arms off and do arms that are armored with like big jointed gauntlets that go down the arms and have him holding an axe instead of a sword and put a helmet on him instead of having a bare face. And they'll have me make it look like Steph painted it and not me because they want it to match the painting that's under it. They don't want a new painting.
They just don't want to have to pay again.
Yeah, they don't want to pay Steph to do a whole new concept. They just want me to do an edit of it. So what I did was I just reached out to Steph and I was like, look at what I'm doing. Ha ha ha. I'm being paid to like, become you. And I would like joke with him about how like I'm starting to think the way you think, man. And like, and that was like a fun conversation to have with somebody who has a lot more experience in the industry than me. And like, it was a fun way to kind of joke about it. Yeah, I'd say like if it's a job you want to do and you're having fun doing it, the best way to deal with the fact that you're basically wearing somebody else's skin is to reach out to that person and go, isn't this hilarious that my client is making me be you? Like, at least you can make a connection that way and have some fun with it.
Yeah, and also it's just not that bad, like to be asked to do that. Like I've been asked to do that,
Yeah.
so many times. Uh, it's just until you have your own thing. Like if that if that bothers you, then then you just need to work harder at making yourself the thing that people want over these
Right.
other styles. It's like that's just on you to keep pushing yourself, keep developing, and hopefully get to a point where they're coming to you for your own approach. Because that definitely happened to me a lot, where they'd be like, "Oh, I want you to paint in like this guy's magic card kind of style,"
Hmm.
and I was like, "Well, I know I could do this." Like it was like frustrating to be like, "Oh my god, like I have to be all these other people, and I feel like I should be able to do this like on my
Yeah.
own. Like they should just be able to hire me." But that
I
happens for
mean,
a long time.
there's literally companies that will give you a style guide and an art test before they'll hire you, and they'll say if you can't paint like this person who's at the top of our like art food chain, we will not hire you. Do a painting in this person's style or we are not going to pay you. And that's extremely common. Like extremely, extremely common, especially for video game companies that are like mobile games and stuff. They'll give you a style guide and they'll say, do this. If you can't do it in this other person's style, it's not worth their time. So it's not like that dirty kind of feeling a lot of people get where they feel like they're stealing work from a different artist because they're being paid to be a budget version of that. Yeah, that's kind of what's happening, but really it's pretty universal in the industry, especially in video games.
And
They
that
want all
person
the
probably
art.
never had the money to hire that artist.
Yeah, they're not stealing from them because that artist probably wouldn't work for the rate that you're working for, so they wouldn't have done the job anyway. But yeah, it's very, very common. The more stylized a game's art direction is, the more everybody working on it has to look like it because the deviations from the style start standing out like a bigger and bigger sore thumb. But yeah, let's see. Yes, Dorothy, I saw your whisper about the option for people lacking ideas. I'm just not promoting site specific stuff because I want to give answers that apply to everybody. Things that will help people figure out what they want to do instead of reacting to other ideas that other people had. But if anyone is curious, on the Crimson Daggers website, there's an idea generator if you want to just like get a random concept. But I think it's infinitely more useful for you to just start drawing naturally and figure out what you enjoy drawing than it is to be told to do something totally random that doesn't necessarily have a connection to you. It's a lot harder to do that though. So, you know. Um,
So what
After
happened?
drawing for several hours, then going out to see friends, my mind has such a hard time being a normal person for hours after I've stopped drawing. Not just me, right? Have you guys gotten better at snapping back to reality, or have you gotten any good tricks for it?
Hmm.
The only trick I have is to be completely and totally honest with everybody about everything. If you feel super awkward about it because you've been drawing for 6 days and you decided to leave your house on the seventh, tell them that and laugh about it. Don't though if you keep it inside, you're gonna look weirder. At least if you address it, it'll relieve some of the tension.
I honestly have to like stop. Um, I'm pretty good at it now. I have to like force myself out of it sometimes, but I've been there like I don't even know too much, and I usually just kind of I try and sit after working or something for a little bit, drink a cup of coffee, walk around, do things outside, like that kind of snaps me back to normal mode. But things like this also help. Things like talking on the stream
Mm.
helps me realize that I have thoughts and I'm not just like a worker bee sitting there doing things. I don't know. It's tricky, but I think everybody goes through that. It's just this, you phase in and out of reality almost.
Yeah, I mean, it was at a point. I mean, we did a talk on YouTube forever ago called Freelance Talks Getting Through the Middle, where me and Dave were at our lowest point. And I remember, like, when I was there, I would do this thing where I'd look in the mirror before I went out and hung out with people, and I'd try to preload in my brain 5 stories that were funny in case I panicked. So I'd have something to say to people. I'd be like, what can I say that's funny? What happened this week? What happened? And I'd sit in front of the mirror and I'd be like, oh my God, last Monday, the craziest thing. And I'd like rehearse it.
You're a
So like
psychopath.
if exactly, so if I felt uncomfortable hanging out with people, because at this point I was hanging out with people maybe once a month, like it was that bad, where like it was just terrible. And I'd get nervous and sweaty and horrible when I was in like I didn't know what to do when I was hanging out in big groups of people at parties and stuff. And I wanted to have something to say preloaded to get me out of situations. And oh God, just the feeling of that was just like I'm hiding something in my pocket. Like it was just this horrible feeling of like nobody knows that I'm not a human. I'm blending in with all of you.
Yeah, nobody knows I'm a monster.
Nobody knows what I really am. But yeah, just be honest with people. More often than not, people are going to relate to the stuff you say because people usually don't want to be totally honest with how they're feeling or that they hate their jobs or that they feel weird going out. You'll probably end up making better friends if you're totally honest about it.
Yeah, that's all I could ever do to like get past that kind of feeling. So just address it all the time.
Let's see. If anyone has any other questions, just tag me. How much longer do you want to go?
Just a few more. Let's just take a couple more questions and then
All right, I'll take the next 2 or 3. So throw
yeah,
them in the chat.
yeah, because we definitely got to get back to work on the
Yeah.
Steve Lichman Kickstarter stuff.
Speaking of which, let me reload this Amazon thing and see what it says.
Yeah, if any of you guys back the book, a lot of them have shipped out. Like we mentioned in the beginning of the stream, we do have an issue because of the uh, Canadian law saying it's the was it the
Canadian
Canada Heritage Act?
Heritage Act,
Yeah, which won't let us ship books to Canada.
at least through Amazon. We're
Yeah,
looking
not
at other
through
ways to
Amazon. So
do
we're
it.
still going to do it, but we need to do it maybe on our own. We're trying to find a workaround, but we'll know pretty soon. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you have purchased a book and you're not from Canada, if you could, we'd really appreciate it if you checked your email and see if you have an email from Amazon. We're not positive if they've all been processed yet, but they have all started shipping. So you will be getting your book very soon.
Someone in the chat has a name that is 3 digits, then 4 digits. I really hope that's not their phone number. They asked the question. Yeah, I don't know. I kind of want to call that number and find out what it is, though.
It's a
Anyway,
good
I'm not going to
question,
read it
though.
just for YouTube's sake. But what do you think of the saying, "Don't start a business with a friend"? Have you guys been in any fights?
No.
No, because we don't blame each other for anything really. Like if something bad happens, we both kind of just sink into it and
Well, I
talk
mean,
about how
if
horrible it was.
but
Like I
even
don't know.
so, it's like if like one of us were to do something really stupid, we never get mad at each other. It's the
No.
same way that we write the book and everything. Like we
Yeah.
have to be stupid. It's like we're not perfect. We're not gonna do the best job all the time. It's like even if we made dumb mistakes throughout the process, that's just what life is, you know.
Well, plus we have a friendship where if I do something dumb, you can say that was really dumb, and I'll go, yeah, yep, that was pretty stupid. And if you do something dumb, I'll go, hey, that was pretty dumb, and you're like, yeah, yeah, I don't know why I did that.
Yeah, like we're
Like,
never in denial of how dumb we are.
I'd say start a business with a real friend that you're like totally honest with, where nothing's like weird and uncomfortable. But if you have like a friend you went to college with, and like, we do the same, we hang out, we go to bars on weekends, like if it's that kind of friend and you're not like intimately familiar with them, where like it's not going to be super weird if you fuck up, then yeah,
Yeah, because for us, like we always talk really honestly with each other.
right.
And if, if he's like if Dan were going through something or whatever, needed help with something, it's like not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly. We've both helped each other out of enough stuff at this point that nothing Amazon or anyone else is going to do is going to be something we haven't come across.
Yeah, we just sit there, we talk about it for a little bit, we let it hurt, and then we just go.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the process. It's like, yeah, if Amazon fucks with us, it's like, oh my God, what are we gonna do? But we're doing it. At least we have the ability to work with each other.
Right.
Because if it were just one of us dealing with all of it, like where you can't, you're not stressing with anyone else,
Hmm.
that would be a weird thing.
Two quick questions, and then we'll take one more last question. Quick question: are you guys going to Spectrum? No, we're not. We're not doing anything at any events that I know of until the books have shipped and we got book two out of the way.
Yeah,
Um,
not for a while.
Quick question number two: can you ask Dave what brush he's using? I know brushes don't necessarily make you better, but I really like the one he used for rendering on this.
Um, I really don't know what it is. I don't know my brushes, if I'm being
Size it
honest.
up. Let him see that shape.
If you have this shape, this is the brush I'm using. I have no idea what set it's from. It might be from what's his face's. What's that guy's name? The guy who does like the kind of abstracty rendered
Uh,
artwork. You know what I'm talking
of
about.
Min?
No. No, 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 no. The guy who does like the borderline fairy tale stuff.
Borderline fairy tale
Like
stuff.
that big monster in the swamp with the car and the glowing eyes and all that. Yeah.
Oh God, you're right. Fuck, I can't remember.
Well, if you know who I'm talking about, that's the brush probably. I'm not 100% sure.
Oh God, I can't remember that guy's name.
Yeah, I don't know. His name's like Panchetta or something like that.
Panchetta?
I don't know his name.
Panchetta. His name's Carbonara.
Yeah, his name's
Let's see.
Cabanera.
Any communities you guys recommend? I've tried some Facebook groups, but everyone seems to jerk each other off. Like, I know I'm posting shit, they're posting shit, but everybody's like, great stuff, man. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not posting stuff to get congratulated. I just want to hear ideas and what I really fucked up on and didn't even notice. My recommendation for you, Orphic Whip, is to start your own little community. Just start a thing. Start anything. Say, I'm going to do this stream every day. Come hang out. Or I'm going to do this challenge. If you want to do it, do this with me. And force yourself, be the beacon in the night, be the lighthouse that attracts like minded people. Put the ideas that you want to see out there and let people react to them that want similar ideas. That's the only way me and Dave met anybody that we got along with. And that's the only way I can recommend for you to do the same. Because, yes, I will agree with you. 9 out of 10 times, Facebook groups for art are just people that all have the same ideas, kind of circling each other, going, "Oh, this is great, 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 great." Then if anyone says it's not great, everybody goes over to 4chan and talks shit. So get out of that. Get out of that. Make something that works for you, because yeah, ever since the realm that was conceptart.org fell apart, and the art community has splintered into these weird city states. Nothing has really had the weight that that had, where you could have huge discussions about all the pros and cons of a piece without offending anyone. That has kind of gone away. So find a way to bring it back for you, you know?
Yeah, you really have to just. I mean, the one thing that I've done is just kind of, well, number one, I hate myself, so
Yes.
it's real easy for me to look at my work and go, "That's garbage, you
Step
idiot."
one. Step one, hate yourself.
Like I
Everybody.
still like what I do, but I definitely know when I'm not doing a good job.
Oh, are you talking about Paling?
Yes, Paling.
There you go. Got thank you, Blank Frank.
But Paling, that's the brush, the guy who has the brushes. You can download his brushes online somewhere. But yeah, I just have friends that like I can reach out to, and that's pretty much it. Like just people that I trust who aren't gonna like pat my ass and tell me that like, oh, you're perfect. It's like, it might seem like that's a nice thing to do sometimes to just, say to a friend like, wow, you're doing a really good job. And, you want to encourage people for sure. But the problem with a lot of that is that if you really care about that person and you know that they want to get better, you kind of owe it to them to help them out. Especially if they're coming to you with this, with a piece and they want some helpful crits on it. Just be honest. But yeah, like I keep friends for that. Just some people that I can call on the phone.
Hmm.
Hey, look at this thing. I just sent it to you. It's in your email. Do you think you could like, maybe look it over and give me suggestions, whatever. That's more what I do now because the communities, you're right. Like there really aren't any, or at least not huge ones that are focused
No,
on critiques.
very, very small ones.
Like the Crimson Daggers still exists.
Yeah,
You can go to that forum and hang out with people.
but we always recommend because we started. Well, Dave started, then I did like wave two of Crimson Daggers. Start your own thing. Try
Yeah,
to at least, because that's what we did and that's what worked for us. So the answer isn't join our thing that we did
no.
forever ago. The answer is do your thing.
Yeah, definitely do your own thing.
Let's see. Someone was looking for you at Denver Comic Con. You let them all down.
Well, I was gonna go to Denver Comic Con, but things just got away from us. Wasn't able to go. It was like all over the place, like we were saying about the books and everything.
Hmm.
It's like I was trying to meet people who were at the con, outside of the con too, but also go to the con to be like, hey, look at your booth, whoa. But yeah, it didn't work out. Too much other shit.
Murdoch XCOM asks, what step is the loving yourself part? Step 32. The loving your part step comes right after the you move to Los Angeles step. Whenever you're at the part where you move to LA, you usually start loving yourself right after that.
Yeah, that's where it kicks
California,
in.
California slam. Slammed it.
Slam, California.
Oh God.
Um,
I wish I was wrong.
it's not like it's not like we're saying you hate yourself to a detriment. It's just that you're being realistic. It's like, can you look at yourself, know where you want to go, and and realistically tell yourself, yeah, I know I'm not there. That's what I mean by that. And when you do that, it's like all you're really doing is just saying, you're just being realistic. Like, I have a dream of where I want to go with my artwork, and I know I'm not there yet, so I need to do more. This isn't my goal right now. Like, where I'm at isn't what I believed I would be at this point in my life. So it's like I'm going to continue working. And that's just because you would, if you are that kind of person, then you enjoy improving. And it's important to you to keep getting better. It's not a negative. At least it doesn't have to be a negative.
It's true.
But yeah, move to LA.
Madness asked, is it too late to still get a Steve book? I put in the chat, it is not too late. We're doing a reprint alongside book two in October. There's a mailing list. I put it in the chat. You can sign up there, and when it goes live, you can go grab a book. It
Yep.
is too late to get the first edition, but you can get that reprint when it comes out in a couple months. I cannot believe that that's like 4 months away. Jesus Christ. What happened to this year?
Dude, Amazon happened this year.
We launched a Kickstarter 8 months ago. This feels like we launched it 2 months ago.
Oh, I know, dude.
Oh man, Amazon took my whole life away.
I know. We're going to die a little bit younger.
Anyways, I think, okay, Cthulhu Hoopster says, I think artists love themselves a bit too much. Don't you have to be your own worst critic? Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you, but we're in the minority. I think, see, this is what I think. I think most artists, this is my own theory. I don't, people can disagree with this all they want. I think most artists actually do hate themselves. And what happens is they get really insecure about not liking who they are, and then they deal with that by acting like they love themselves and overcompensating a lot. I don't think the artists that come off like they love themselves actually do. I think they're making up for this massive, massive hole in their soul that the art just cannot fill. There you go. You want to wrap this up?
I agree with that.
Let's wrap it up.
All right, everybody. This is I'm gonna add just a little bit of warmth to this dude's face, and then we're gonna jump off of here, get back to work. And again, like I was saying, please check your email and let us know if you did order a Steve book back in the Kickstarter day, if you have gotten a message confirming that you'll be having the book shipped. It should be there. It will maybe be there like tomorrow at the latest, I'm guessing. But yeah, we'd appreciate it because we're still trying to figure out whether or not everything is finally
Yes,
working.
definitely. And someone asked about it, so I guess before we go, do you want to plug your new tutorial that's coming out?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm still working on it. I showed it the other day on the Twitch stream. I think I can open it without crashing this. Let's try it. So I'm working on this new portrait, and it's going to be kind of realistic, like my old realistic portrait style, and I'm basically doing my entire approach from sketch to finish. But yeah, this is where it's at right now. It's not done, but I'm going to be like finishing this, and then I'm going to have this huge video that, is going to cover everything. So, yeah, should be coming in the next couple of weeks or something like that. But you can check that out. It'll be where the link is below. So if you check below the stream right now, you can click on the Eyeball Night tutorial link, and from there you can look at the rest of the tutorials I have on there. They're all $5 for like over 5 hours each. And if you like the stream tonight, feel free to subscribe. You don't have to do that, but it'll help us a lot. It'll help us stay alive on here. We
Yes.
want to keep this regular, so Twitch did a great thing by partnering with us and really helped us out. So, yeah. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks for all the questions.
Mm-hmm.
You've all been super nice.
We'll be
And
back in a couple days, or maybe sooner than that. We're still dealing with the Amazon thing, so we don't quite have the schedule down, but we'll be back soon.
yeah. But yeah, thanks again. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. All right. Hey, YouTube. What's up, YouTube?
Just want to say thanks to everybody over at youtube.com getting their view counts up.
Yeah, you gotta show the love for YouTube.
Yubtub.com, #1 source in video on demand.
Yeah, this is our VOD channel, This is our VOD. Our VOD. Yeah, if any of you guys want to we said all that stuff about hating yourself and LA and whatever. If you
Yeah.
hate that, please leave a comment below.
Leave a comment below saying you guys are wrong about all of that. You're hacks. I don't think any of your advice was good because, we welcome all kinds.
Just scroll down below and go, you guys, you don't know shit.
Mm,
You don't
it's
know
true.
shit about California.
It's true. It's true. There's gold in them hills somewhere. Keep digging.
I'm just saying, man. I just don't like it out there.
Shout out to my friends in San Francisco. Hate the city. Love all of you.
Yeah, I mean, nothing wrong with people, but the place, oh man, the place.
The place.
It's not for everybody.
Great food in a bad restaurant.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Thanks for watching on YouTube. If you want,
Bye,
you can
YouTube.
subscribe to us. That would I
Yeah.
don't know if that helps,
Yeah,
but
if we ever put ad revenue on these things, maybe.
yeah, I mean, we'll have ad revenue on this one. So,
There you
if
go.
you're watching this with AdBlock Plus on, then you're really fucking us right now. No, I'm just kidding. I don't really care. It doesn't. We're never
How
gonna
dare
get
you?
that popular. It's not gonna matter.
No, it's fine.
But yeah, thanks.
Plug that hole, everybody.
Plug
Bye.
that hole. Just fill the hole up. All right. See ya.